Hello students, in today's lecture we will be discussing the applications of superconductors. In our syllabus we have majorly three applications of superconductors, that is maglev train, squid and cryotron. In today's lecture I will be discussing maglev train and cryotron. The remaining portion, that is the last application, will be discussed in the next lecture. So let us first start with the topic maglev train. Now, maglev train, I think you must have heard about the term maglev train. It is a type of train which actually floats on the guideway or floats on the tracks. Unlike the Indian railway system, wherein we use the mechanical system to control the braking, to control the shifting of tracks, this system is completely operated using electromagnetism. Now, let us first discuss, because maglev train basically works on the principle of magnetic levitation. Levitation, in simple words, the meaning of the word levitation means floating. So what do you mean by magnetic levitation? It is a process by which an object is suspended above another object by no other support but magnetic fields. Just assume that you are holding two different objects. If you are holding, you can hold them away from each other. But if you're not holding them on their own, if they are floating one above the other, we call this phenomenon as levitation. Because it is achieved with the help of magnetic fields, we call it magnetic levitation. Now, in this method, levitation is achieved when a superconductor is placed in an external magnetic field. You all know that superconductors, they have a property called persistent current. That is, once the current is induced, it will constantly keep on flowing without decrease in value. They also have a property called Messner effect, wherein we have seen that the magnetic field lines will not pass through the superconductor. They are repelled, right? So due to Messner effect, the magnetic field lines are repelled by the superconductor, and this is what produces levitation. Repulsion produces levitation. Maglev train is based on this principle. Now let me first explain how this magnetic levitation is achieved, and then we will be discussing the types of magnetic levitation or the types of maglev trains. So suppose I assume, let me first explain you this diagram wherein we have a coil. Can you just see a coil? This coil has an input current. So suppose I say the current is input through this end, the current is flowing through the coil. This is the output end. If you have a coil and if current is flowing through that coil, the coil is going to get magnetized because this is the positive terminal. The current inputs from here and output is from this end. So this input end will have this as north pole and the opposite side as south pole. So this is, say, one coil. Suppose I have another magnetic ring, and this magnetic ring is also in such a way that this end of the magnetic ring is south pole and the opposite end is north pole. So if you have a magnetic ring and if you bring a coil closer to this ring in such a way that both the magnetic field, both the south poles of the two respective magnetic fields face each other, what will happen? This ring will not come in contact with the coil because south and south will repel each other. So in this scenario, what will happen? This ring will float on this coil. There will be no contact between them. This cannot come close to the coil. The moment it comes closer to the coil, it will be pushed back. This is what is known as repulsion, and this phenomenon of floating. Our ring will float on the coil because south and south repel each other. So this is how magnetic levitation in general is achieved. Magnetic levitation can be understood by considering a current carrying coil. When current flows through the coil, it induces a magnetic field. So when current is flowing, it will induce a magnetic field. The change in magnetic field in in the coil, due to the change in current, induces a current in the metal ring. So this metal ring, now if the current is flowing through this coil, suppose I say the current is slowly increasing. So magnetic field is also going to change. Whenever there is a change in magnetic field, EMF is induced, that is current is induced. Where will the current be induced? We have input current through the coil. The current is produced in the magnetic ring, which in turn, now this magnetic field which is being produced in the magnetic ring, right? It will oppose the magnetic field which has created the internal magnetic field. The change in magnetic field in coil due to change in current induces a current in the metal ring, and because of this current a magnetic field is induced in the metal ring. The magnetic field induced in the metal ring will oppose the magnetic field which has created it. So the repulsive force of south-south pole, here we have shown south-south pole, it lifts or levitates the ring. I hope this term is clear. Now let us move ahead. The maglev suspension systems basically are divided into two categories. The first one of them is very commonly known as EMS, that is electromagnetic suspension. Now what basically is the arrangement of electromagnetic suspension? Here in the diagram we have shown this is the guideway, or you can say the track. Now this track, can you see the two magnets here? The track is having magnets. The train, now this is what? This is the front view of the train shown. So this portion of the train also has magnets. We have labeled them as levitation magnets. And on the side of the train, there are also magnets which are known as guidance magnets. So according to this diagram, I can say that the train is like a clamp on the guideway. I'm repeating again. This is the guideway having, the lower portion of the guideway is having magnets. This is the train which is like a clamp on the guideway. This is also having magnets which are known as the levitation magnets. So I can say that the train is clamped on the guideway. The electromagnetic suspension system uses attractive forces to levitate. Why attractive forces? You can see the train is resting on the guideway. When will there be floating condition between these two? When levitation magnet attracts with this magnet. When there is an attraction between these two magnets, what happens? Slowly the train will lift up. I'm repeating again. When the levitation magnet attracts this red colored magnet, when this pushes in upward direction, what happens? The train will lift up. So we say that for levitation, attractive forces are used. The train's levitation magnet will be attracted to the conductors on the underside of guideway. The attractive force between them will overcome the gravitational force, and this in turn will levitate the train on the track. Now, why are the guidance magnets provided? They will follow the direction of the guideway track. Just to give direction to the train, we have guidance magnets also. We can see that the train is wrapped around the track or clamped around the track. Because of this, EMS train is safer and comfortable. The regulated levitation of the train makes the train levitate even when traveling at slow speed. If the speed is low, even then levitation will be achieved, because the reason is it is achieved by the force of attraction. Now, because there is a force of attraction, the levitation achieved is not very high. It is approximately 4 centimeters. The magnetic field intensity inside the passenger compartment is also small, and so it is safe for passengers. In case of power failure, now entirely if you consider the guidance magnets, if you consider the levitation magnets, when will they become magnetized? When we supply, when a power is given, right? When an input is given. So what will happen if suddenly there is a power failure? The EMS maglev train is equipped with an emergency battery power supply so that the maglev train will not crash on the guideway, which will just bring the train to halt, but it cannot completely move if there is a power failure. But because of this battery backup, we can just bring the train to rest so that there is no major accident. The most successful EMS maglev train is currently being used in Shanghai, China and Germany. Shanghai, that is China, and Germany. They use EMS, that is electromagnetic suspension type of maglev train. Now let me discuss the second type of maglev suspension system, which is known as electrodynamic suspension. Now what do you mean by electrodynamic suspension? Again I've tried to show the front view. Now this portion, this light grey color shows the guideway. The guideway, unlike EMS, the upper portion of guideway has magnets. Can you see these right angled red colored magnets? The train is just kept on the track and the train's lower portion has levitation magnets. Now this levitation magnets in the train are actually superconducting electromagnets. Basically, what is an electromagnet? You have a bar, a conductor on which a coil is wrapped. Current flows through the coil and the bar will get magnetized. This is how a normal electromagnet is formed. Now this contains superconducting material. So the coil is of a superconducting material. So whenever magnetism is achieved, we say they are superconducting electromagnets. In this case, how will the train levitate? If there is a force of attraction, the train is never going to levitate. What will happen when this right angled magnets will repel or will push the levitation magnets in upward direction, the train is going to move up. The train is going to levitate. So the electrodynamic suspension uses magnets that have same polarity to create repulsive force between levitation magnet and the guideway magnet. EMS uses forces of attraction and EDS, that is this system, uses forces of repulsion. This repulsive force will be high enough to overcome the gravitational force and will allow the train to levitate. Now the EDS maglev train uses supercooled superconducting electromagnets. You know how the superconducting state of the magnets is achieved? The train has liquid nitrogen tanks which supply liquid nitrogen in circulation so that superconducting state of the magnet is achieved. And in this type of system, type 2 superconductors are used. A common example we discussed is YbCO, which has around 78 Kelvin temperature as its critical temperature. Now these superconducting electromagnets can conduct electricity even after the power supply has been shut off, for example in event of blackout. How they can conduct electricity even after the power supply has been shut off? Because of superconductor's property called persistent current. Once the current is induced, it is going to move without dropping in its value. But there is one potential drawback in using EDS system. The drawback is that the train needs to roll on rubber tires until they reach a lift-off speed of around 62 miles per hour. So till a speed of 100 kilometers per hour, they have to move on rubber tires. After a particular speed is achieved, the train will levitate. Past the lift-off speed, the train will levitate and rubber tires will no longer be in contact with the guideway. And this can achieve approximately 10 centimeters, that is 4 inches of levitation. The only reason is that it uses forces of repulsion. So there is no possibility that the two magnets come in contact. Now since the EDS train will induce a high intensity magnetic field because of the superconducting electromagnets, the passenger section of the train has to be shielded from the magnetic field. Otherwise, what will happen? Because of this high intensity magnetic field, it will be dangerous for passengers with pacemakers to travel through it. It can also damage the magnetic storage data such as the credit cards, debit cards and hard drives because they use magnetism to store data. Now this is just a brief that how will the train accelerate or decelerate, that is how will the train start or stop. So what I have done is I've just tried to show you the top view of the train. Suppose assume that this scenario, the diagram is showing only 4 magnets. That doesn't mean that there are only 4 magnets, but suppose these are the magnets which are on the train and these are the magnets which are on the guideway. Suppose I say my train is moving in this direction. I need to bring it to a halt. This has achieved a speed of around 500 kilometers per hour speed. So suddenly you cannot bring it to stop, right? You have to gradually reduce the speed. Because there is no contact between guideway and train, there will be no friction. So how does it come to halt? What is done is the current is gradually reduced so that magnetic field intensity reduces. At the same time, the current polarity is also changed. Now just assume that the train is moving in this direction. I want to bring it to a halt. So what can be done is I have to change the polarity of the guideway magnets in such a way that there is a repulsive force here. Suppose I have considered this scenario, that train was moving like this and now the polarity is as shown in the figure. What happens? This south and this south, there will be a repulsion between these two, and the second north will attract this. So you can say that from the front end, the train will receive an opposing force, but that is not sudden, it is gradual. Slowly, the current is reduced and polarity is changed, and this is how the train will come to a halt. An EMS system can provide levitation and propulsion using onboard linear motor, but the polarity of stators at the track will change its polarity continuously to move the maglev train. The stators at the sides are excited sequentially, as I said, gradually. There is one drawback in the EDS system, that EDS system can only levitate the train. It cannot propel it, it cannot move it. For the movement of EDS system, we have propulsion coils like this. So just consider that center one you have guideway and the train running on the guideway, and at the sides, at both the sides, we have propulsion coils. Propulsion coils are nothing but electromagnets only. The propulsion coils on the guideway are used to exert a force on the magnets in the train and make the train move. If you want to move it, it has a different polarity. If you want to stop it, the propulsion coils will have a separate or a different opposite polarity. So EMS will propel and levitate together at the same time, and EDS will require this type of propulsion coil system. By changing the intensity and frequency of the driving current, speed and thrust can be continuously adjusted. This is all about the topic of maglev train. Let us move on to the next topic. It's a small application called cryotron. Cryotron basically works like a switch. You might have heard that we all have MCBs or fuses in our home. What basically is the function of a fuse? What basically an MCB does? Suppose there is a short circuit in our place. You are using any electronic appliance and suddenly it malfunctions. So you might have noticed that only one of the MCB trips. Suppose you are using a television and there is some issue with the television. So MCB which is connected with the television will trip. Trip means it will pass on that excess current to ground. So this is how a basic cryotron works. Cryotron in the year around 1950, it was first time discovered by Dudley Allen Buck. No need to remember the name of the physicist. The application itself is enough. So what basically cryotron is? A cryotron is a switch that operates using superconductivity. Cryotron works on the principle that magnetic fields destroy superconductivity. You remember the property number 5, critical magnetic field. This simple device consists of two superconducting wires. The first cryotron which Allen Buck made using tantalum and niobium. So this core, can you see this rectangle? The core is of tantalum and this winding connected is of niobium. Both of them have different critical temperature and different critical field. And the relation is HCA should be less than HCB. That is, critical field of tantalum should be less than critical field of niobium. This was the condition which was taken by Allen Buck. Now, a straight wire of tantalum having lower Tc is wrapped around the wire of niobium in a single layer coil. So this straight tantalum and this niobium. Both wires are electrically isolated from each other. When this device is immersed in a liquid helium bath, both the wires become superconducting and offer no resistance to the passage of electric current. The first cryotron which was tried, it was using liquid helium, which has a temperature around 4.2 Kelvin. But practically the cryotrons which are used are made using type 2 superconductors. Now tantalum in the superconducting state can carry large amount of current as compared to its normal state. Obviously because resistance is negligible. Now when the current is passed through niobium coil which is wrapped around tantalum, when the current is passed through this coil, it produces a magnetic field. Normal condition, the magnetic field because of this current will not do anything to the superconducting state. But if suddenly the current increases in niobium, its magnetic field is also going to increase. If that increased magnetic field is greater than HCA, the superconducting state of tantalum is lost. This is what is written here, which in turn destroys the superconductivity of tantalum wire and hence reduces the amount of current that can flow through the tantalum wire. Hence, one can control the amount of current that can flow in the straight wire with the help of small current in the coiled wire. We can just think that tantalum acts as a gate and niobium coil acts as the control, because niobium is controlling the superconducting state of tantalum. This is all about cryotron. It is basically used in digital devices like flip-flops, relays, which work on low temperatures. I hope the topic is clear.